article critique is on a paper entitled Life After Lead: Effects of Early Interventions for Children Exposed to Lead. This is a study done in Charlotte about an intervention for lead-exposed children. The CDC defines the cutoff for a harmful level of lead as 10 micrograms of lead per deciliter of blood. Lead pollution is consistently linked to cognitive and behavioral impairments, and although the issue has declined, the paper mentions that 1 out of every 4 homes in the United States contains a significant level of lead paint hazard. The issue this paper looks at is how do we mitigate the effects of lead, and it looks for long-term impacts of lead remediation on children by looking at their antisocial behavior later in life. The treatment being evaluated are the CDC guidelines for lead remediation in children, which include nutritional assessment, medical evaluation, development surveillance, and referrals and instructions for parents.
The evaluation design is a difference in difference. So we're comparing the difference in time in children with 2 lead level tests that are above that threshold mentioned earlier, to the relative difference in the control group, which is children with an initial test above that threshold and a follow-up that is below that threshold. And we have the difference in difference research model on the slide. The administrative data used is the blood lead level data. We have public school records in Charlotte, and as well as criminal arrest records in Mecklenburg County. So the outcomes we're examining are blood lead levels, and then they used the public school records to create a summary index for educational outcomes and the criminal arrest records to make a summary index for antisocial behavior. Key challenges of a difference in difference. In this case, we have a sample size or power issue, as we have a very small treatment group. Again, you need to look at the similarity of the groups. What are the inherent differences? This ties into selection. We need baseline data to ensure that the groups have similar trends, as well as there's no major confounding factors. And then controlling for differences, we use birth certificate records and well as county assessors data.
This study found that the negative outcomes associated with early life lead exposure can be largely reversed by intervention. Additionally, there were also estimated decreases in antisocial behaviors, such as suspensions, school crimes, criminal activity, and unexcused absences. And to a lesser extent, there were also increases in educational performance. Here you can see the changes in blood lead levels for the intervention group. On the right, you can see the changes in BLL between the second and third tests. And here you can see the effects of the BLL interventions on education and behavioral outcomes. For the educational outcomes, you can see the slight increases, and for the behavioral outcomes, you can see large decreases.
So in terms of validity, first of all, there are many strengths. So there were similar social, political, and personal effects affecting both the treatment and the control groups, which reduces the effects of maturation and history. And also there was the same testing applied to both the treatment and control groups, which reduces the effects of testing and instrumentation effects. Also, this was observational, so they were looking at data after the fact. So there was no experimental mortality of people leaving the study halfway through. And also because it was observational, there's moral strength in that there was no purposeful lead exposure. Internally, they only accounted for the crime committed in the same county. So that when they were looking at antisocial behaviors, they looked at crime, but someone could have committed a crime in a different county and that wouldn't have been accounted for. Also, in terms of selection, it was not randomized. So people with a higher blood lead level were in the treatment group and with a lower level were in the control group. And therefore, someone who has a higher blood lead level may have also be lower income or have a confounding thing that affects the study. Externally, there was a rather small sample size. They were only observing 301 people. And also the sample was all children who had regularly scheduled doctor's appointments. That's how they selected people from that population. So there's the missed population of people who can't have those appointments. And then also Charlotte may have relatively low lead levels compared to older cities.
So overall, we believe the direction of the study, but we're unsure about the magnitude due to a lack of power and statistical significance. The difference in difference with controls is convincing and covers a lot of internal validity threats. There are the weaknesses also are likely to underestimate the effects, making us believe the direction of the impact more. However, as I said, we're unsure on the magnitude, and this is due to selection and small sample. The generalizability is also a little suspect. And yeah, thank you very much.